So, like many freshmen going into UNH, I had no idea what I was doing. I went in completely undeclared, thinking maybe I'll study anthropology, or I'm very good at languages, I could do Spanish. Not really having a focus in mind. Throughout my first year, my advisor and I began to narrow down on what I really wanted to do. She introduced me to the eco-gastronomy program, which immediately sparked my interest. After a year without a solid primary major declared, I was teetering on the edge of panic. My mother continually suggested that I look into the business side of things. But I was torn, knowing I grew up with the passion to help people, and in my mind, business was this corporate, boxy entity all for markets and money, not for the greater good like grassroots organizations. Going into the summer, I decided I would take an economics course just as a test drive, and I absolutely fell in love, as nerdy as that sounds. It finally struck me. Economics just makes sense, and this is something I could really use to impact change in my life. I switched my major and got the obligatory "I told you so" from my mother. Reading the advertisements about the Carsey Social Innovation Internship, all I could think was I have to do this. Using my business degree in a way that keeps my value system in check and works towards the greater good is something that will always be a priority to me. After getting the internship with the New Hampshire Farm to Restaurant Connection, I began to realize how I could combine my two majors. I can remember as a little girl, growing up in Stratham, New Hampshire, walking my dog on this big open field down 108 and through the apple orchard on Bunker Hill Ave. Now driving my car down the same street on my way home, I see development after development with the odd apple tree still sticking up in someone's front lawn. When I heard the mission of the New Hampshire Farm to Restaurant Connection, that vision came right into my mind. Keeping the traditions of family farms and the charms of small town in New Hampshire is extremely important to me. Throughout the last 8 weeks, I was lucky to be working closely with Charlie Burke, the president of the New Hampshire Farm to Restaurant Connection. He made this internship extremely experiential for me. I broke out of my seacoast bubble and saw all parts of New Hampshire. Meeting with farmers, restaurants, members of New Hampshire Made, the Sustainability Institute, and the Department of Agriculture, I came to the same conclusion after each meeting. Farming and owning restaurants are two of the most time-consuming professions that one could choose to have. In order to drive systemic change, it is important to have an intermediary, such as the New Hampshire Farm to Restaurant Connection. Seeing this necessity and the impact it can have on the local economy, as well as the profitability of farmers, really inspired me to learn more about the economics of the food system and how to fix this gap between farmers and restaurants. This internship allowed me to see farming from all different angles. It allowed me to step into the shoes of the farmer, the consumer, and the restaurateur, and see the demand for keeping healthy, farm-fresh foods available. Learning about economics in a book is much different from going out into the world and seeing real-life impacts that the economy has. Going from theory to practice really takes an emotional leap. Instead of dealing with hypothetical people and situations, I was looking into the eyes of the farmers that were struggling to make profit. I was standing in Landaff Creamery, petting the cows that make their world-class cheese. I was hearing the journeys that all of these restaurants have taken to commit to farm-to-table practices from those enacting the changes themselves. Through this internship, I felt as if I were part of the system that needs changing, and I was part of the change itself. This internship would have been nothing without the direction and hard work from President of New Hampshire Farm to Restaurant Connection, Charlie Burke, Gail McWilliam-Jelly from the Department of Agriculture, and of course, UC Terrell from the Carsey Institute. This internship has made me gain a lot of respect for those who put in the time and effort to focus on where their food comes from, and I feel I owe it to that little girl in the apple orchard walking her dog to do the same and help keep New Hampshire farms on the land. Thank you.